Hello all. Here I will be keeping alive cold cases that still need the public's help while painting. The combination may not make sense, but I promise it will if you stick around. Before we begin, quick disclaimer, I am only one person, so if any of my research is incorrect or out of date, please feel free to comment below so that we may all be in the know, and I will be sure to pin the comment. And I will link all of my resources in the description below. My name is Summer, and this is Project Modus Operandi. Today's story is that of Tina Marie Finley. Before we dive in, first I want to give light to a few statistics. In the 2016 report from National Crime Information Center, there were 5,712 reports of missing American and Alaskan Indigenous women and girls. In contrast to this large number, the U.S. Department of Justice's Federal Missing Persons Database only had 116 cases logged. In Idaho specifically, 75% of the missing Native people are women. Of non-Indigenous missing persons, 28.8% are women. There has been a lot of progress for this concern, including an executive order signed in 2019 that formed the Operation Lady Justice Task Force. For these statistics to change favorably, we need to keep talking about it. And that's why I wanted to talk about Tina today. So, let's dig in. Idaho is home to 5 federally recognized tribes: Shoshone-Bannock, Coeur d'Alene, Kootenai, Nez Perce, and Shoshone-Paiute. Tina was part of the Coeur d'Alene tribe. Her mother was from the Coeur d'Alene tribe and her father from the Nez Perce. Tina's story will take us back to the 80s in Plummer, Idaho, on the Coeur d'Alene reservation. Tina was not a perfect person, none of us are, and she had suffered a lot of trauma by 1988 when she was 25 years old. Tina was one of 6 siblings. Debbie Aripa, her sister, mentioned during an interview that their parents' alcohol addiction unfortunately led to the 7 children growing up in the foster system. Other family members have detailed some horrors that Tina experienced while in the foster home. It is believed that Tina ran away because of abuse and suspected sexual abuse. It is believed that due to this, that 14-year-old Tina ran away to Washington. Eventually, after some time, she hitchhiked her way to California, and little is known what she did after that until she was 17 years old. Then, Tina's uncle, tribal elder Felix Aripa, got a call from Tina, and he purchased her a ticket home from San Jose. Now, Debbie remembers that Uncle Felix saw Tina like a daughter. He looked after her, and after Tina moved in with her uncle, she learned how to cook and held several jobs. Then came the night of March 8th, 1988. Following Tina's movements until her mysterious disappearance was not too difficult, as she was a popular face in the local bars. She was very good at pool, so good that she had to start playing in the next town over because most regulars were sick of losing to her. So she went to a few places, crossing town lines, which, with towns fairly close together, is not too uncommon. At some point in the night, Tina was at a birthday party in Townsend, Idaho. Investigators believe that at that birthday party is where she met the people responsible for her disappearance. After the party, Tina went to the Circle H Saloon. That is where a man offered her a ride home. Shortly after they left the Circle H Saloon, a few witnesses stated that a man came into the bar looking for her, and this is believed to be one of the suspected people she met with at the birthday party. After that, all we know is what was told to us by this stranger who, as far as we know, is one of the last people to have seen Tina. Now, strangely enough, the man that gave Tina a ride told the police he dropped her off a quarter-mile from her home. Now, this is strange. Why would someone offer you a ride home and then you get out a quarter-mile from your house? Now, the reason Tina may have is speculated to be for a few reasons. One may be he asked her to get out or was being forward and made her uncomfortable, so she got out. Another would be that she trusted him some, but not enough to know where she lived. And in being so cautious, she had him drop her off a little way from her home. Finally, it could be that this statement that was given by the driver is just not true. The police did give that man a polygraph that he did pass, though, as many of you may know, polygraphs are not even admissible in court due to their inconsistency and lack of legitimacy. Whatever reason there may be, Tina did not make it home that very rainy night. She seemed to have stepped out of that vehicle and into the rain and off of this earth. Shortly after that evening, Tina's purse and identification were found along Highway 95, which happens to bisect the reservation. Once these were found without any sign of her, many people began to think the worst had happened. Family and tribal members were frantically searching for her, even digging randomly to try and find her body. And shortly after this, Tina's father sought out the help of a spiritualist in the area, and the spiritualist told him that Tina was near water and something white. This didn't really, unfortunately, aid in the investigation much. Later in the search, investigators found several of Tina's belongings and a business letter to one of the suspects in an abandoned car and abandoned house in De Smet, Idaho. The next piece of possible evidence was found way later in the year. Tina's jacket was found in a home in Plummer, Idaho. Now, there were two suspects that were questioned by investigators. They both were given a polygraph, and they both not only failed, but, quote, flunked. But without something admissible in court, they do not have the proof that these suspects were involved. And there's still no idea where Tina is. A year later, Tina's sister had a dream that she was in a clearing in a forest, being beaten and dying, and asking 3 to 4 male attackers not to hurt her anymore, just as the light of dawn was making its way through the trees. Now that must have been truly harrowing to experience that and then wake to a world where there is still no sign of your sister. 3 years after her disappearance, divers searched for Tina's body in a small pond on a back road of the reservation. Nothing really came of it. A year later, a road worker found a grave-shaped pit at a state park. But again, no body or anything else of any kind, and no verifiable link to Tina. As much as all of us would love to think that Tina ran off and is living her best life somewhere, investigators, her family, and others on the reservation do not have any hope of that being true. Now, that may sound very, very harsh, but I'll explain a little bit. Tina would have never left without any of her belongings, her ID, her money, and she definitely would not have left without informing anyone via cell or note. Now, that is what happened though. All of that was left behind without any kind of clue or note or call. So, this does remain a missing persons case on paper. It seems, however, that those involved know it to be a murder case. Despite some evidence and a lot of third-hand whispering, no one has provided enough information to charge the suspects. Investigators and family believe that the suspects have told others what happened to Tina that night, and all it would take is one or more of these people to come forward. And in 34 years, no one has. Now you may ask, why? Why has no one come forward if there's people out there that have heard secondhand or firsthand know what happened to her? It is believed it is out of fear. The several suspects have histories of violence, and though federal witness protection has been offered to those that would come out and say something, they still won't, and that's likely due to their community. It is a very tight-knit community, and the idea of leaving it is just as terrifying to some as any supposed violence. So as for now, Tina's uncle and mother occasionally go out and search the reservation for her remains, and her sister, Justice, has decided to forgive. The sisters are trying to have Tina declared legally dead, and would like her headstone to be overlooking DeSmet. Tina was a young woman who had experienced a lot of trauma in her 25 years, but persevered with a bright attitude and so much tenacity for her future. She was looking at going back to school, going to college at the time of her disappearance. She never had the chance to. Now, I will talk a little bit about the painting that I've made here. In my work, I utilize florography, or the language of flowers, to strengthen the symbolism of my work and connect something that is not portraiture, but still beautiful, to a person. I looked for a long time for something to anchor these florals with, and I came across a vase that I thought was befitting, and something that I thought Tina would like, based on what I learned about her. She was a very fashionable person, and I thought that this 1980s spouted vase would be right up her alley. I fitted it with Edelweiss for courage and daring, which Tina was. I added asphodel to symbolize, quote, "My regrets will follow you to the grave," which I believe all of those in the community that knew something and didn't say something must feel. Rosemary and mushrooms for remembrance and new life, respectfully, and forget-me-nots. Those are a little obvious. Her family, especially her siblings and uncle, will never forget her. So lastly, a touch of laurel for glory. I will be offering this painting to Tina's family first and foremost. If they do not want it or cannot be contacted, I will be adding this to catalog to add to a later project that supports the reason behind my project modus operandi, keeping these stories alive in hopes that one day they can be solved. If you or anyone you know may have information that could help put this investigation to rest, the FBI is offering a $10,000 reward for any information leading to the location of Tina. She would be 60 this year. I want to send off with this quote: "We are not truly dead until the hearts of our women are on the ground." Black Elk. So I chose Tina's case because she is part of the many missing and murdered Indigenous in the U.S. I am hoping to have a far reach to keep these cases alive until they can be put to rest with closure for the victims and families. I'm starting out, so as I grow and learn, I'm sure my channel will become more refined, so thanks for liking and subscribing and sticking it out with me. If anyone you know, or if you have any information that relates to Tina's case, please call Benewah County Sheriff's Office at 208-245-2555.